What's up, Bulls Nation? We've got a live CHGO Bulls coming up for y'all right around the corner. On today's show, ESPN's NBA ranks top 100 players for the 25-26 season is out. They just released the final top 10 today, but throughout the week we learned 100 through number 1. Random numbers? Josh Giddey did not crack the top 100. We're going to talk about that. Coby White did. Where did he end? Does it make sense? Plus, an interesting ESPN NBA survey. All of that next. What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome into the CHGO Bulls podcast. Coming to you live from our studios here in West Loop, downtown Chicago. I'm Peck, Bulls_Peck. That's Big Dave. Bow. Yeah, WOL Sports. Will the Go Gottlieb. With a soft-spoken bow.
It was.
Perfectly coiffed. Will_Gottlieb. Queen of the controls, one and only Katie W. What up, Katie?
It was a very quiet bow.
Bow.
Wait,
I
how did you
didn't
say?
like that. I don't want to say it again because I feel like you're gonna make fun of me.
One more time.
I don't want to say it.
For the people.
No, make fun of Will
For
instead.
the people, Katie?
For the people, Katie.
For
Make
the people.
make fun of Will instead.
I'm not going to make fun of you. I wouldn't do that.
For our pal Kyle Williams, who's hanging out.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kyle Williams.
Do it for Kyle.
He was talking wrestling with you and Greg just a minute ago.
Wrestling. Yeah. You know what I found out? There's a list, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. There's a top 500 wrestlers list.
Top 500?
Yes.
That's so many wrestlers.
So many wrestlers. It's a lot of wrestlers, man. Number 313 on the list, Big Dave.
What?
Let's go.
You were a professional wrestler and never brought that up to us?
There's a lot of things that I do that I don't bring up. But yes, absolutely 313, Big Dave is on the list.
Were you familiar with this wrestler who goes by Big Dave before seeing the list?
I am not, but he is now the greatest wrestler in the history of wrestling.
What era are we talking? Was this like generations ago?
No, this was just for the year. Just rankings.
But so it wasn't
see what
all
it did?
time. It was like current?
Yeah, current, like rankings, because, we're doing rankings.
But
So,
sure, yeah.
And so it's a rankings for this year. Sean was there. He pointed it out to me. And Sean has words to say about this. Sean Anderson, ladies and gentlemen.
Sean Anderson, ladies and
CHGO
gentlemen.
White Sox.
Hello, everyone. Just to provide
John?
more context on not Big Dave, he's a guy that was born in 1999, is an independent wrestler, a white man from Minnesota.
With long hair.
Yeah, with long hair. And one of his profile pictures was him in a KG Timberwolves jersey, the one with the trees that has been brought back.
Okay. He got a little
That's
bit
it.
of respect for that last detail. Because I was all about KG when I was younger, and those old school Timberwolves jerseys are sick.
He didn't get the respect because
But
he's wrestling.
up until that detail, I was ready to be like, all right, where can I find this man and end him? Because somebody who is from Minnesota and was born in 1999 does not deserve to split the name Big Dave with this guy
oh
right
my
here.
goodness, man. That's
No,
very
we
kind of
got to take him out.
you. Okay.
There
all
can
right.
be only
There
one.
can be. Shout out Highlander. There can be only one. Go, thoughts?
Strong words coming from the right side of the
What
stage.
if you just
Take
like,
him
oh, yeah,
out?
there's this wrestler from Iowa named Will the Go Gottlieb who's like in these rank. Like, would
right.
you let that stand? Because
If there's anybody else named Will the Goat Gottlieb, I would be far more surprised than I would be to find out that there's somebody else named Big Dave.
That's fair. He's right about
Fair?
that. That's true.
And if I did meet another Will the Goat Gottlieb, the last thing I would do is take them out.
But there can only be one goat.
No, there can be more.
So if there was a wrestler named Matt Peck, he'd be all over this dude.
I think there's like
Yeah.
60,000 Matt Pecks like in the U.S. alone.
That's true.
It's a very
That's true.
common name.
That's very true. Shout out to all y'all Matt
It's like,
Pecks out there.
if there were only one other one,
Okay.
I would take care of business.
Okay.
Because there's so many. I'm
Okay.
like, what am I going to become a serial killer? That doesn't make any sense. I got stuff to do.
I got beefs.
Yeah.
I got stuff. I got things.
I mean, we all know that I am the best one of all of the
Matt
tens of
Pecks,
thousands of Matt
you
Pecks
are
that
definitely
exist
the
in
number
in
one Matt
in the
Peck
universe.
on my list.
Thank you.
That is true.
You're the number one Big Dave on my list.
Thank you very much.
Who is this Minnesota wrestler? I don't know. I don't care.
I don't know, but he's 313, so shout out to him for being on that list.
Yeah, he's about to go from 313 to the circle with the line through it.
Oh my God.
N.A. did not make list. or M.I.A.
Now I want to get him on the show. Like, CHGO Wrestling coming at you later, too, by the way. I want to get him on the show.
You're pulling me in.
I want to get him
You're
on.
pulling me
I got to
in.
get this guy on, man. I need to know
you
more.
find the other Big Dave.
Yes.
And I will
You will
tune
tune
into
in?
that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
He will tune in?
Yeah.
That's big words.
I got to do my scouting, my homework, you know?
He'll be watching with
my private eye homework.
gaze, just a
That's
violent
right.
gaze on this dude right
Before
here, man.
taking him out.
Who are you?
Oh, my goodness. What are we talking about today? Oh, yeah.
go.
ESPN Top 100. That's how we got there. Rankings.
Rankings.
There we go.
That was my segue.
Shout out Nick P, Mark K, Matty Legend, everybody hanging out in the chat. That's right, Nick P. Hit that like button. Don't
Hit
you
the
forget
like.
it. Okay, guys. So ESPN 2025-26 NBA season, top 100 NBA players. They just released the final top 10 today. But earlier in the week, we learned a couple of things.
Okay.
Coby White,
Yeah.
climbing them charts, but actually kind of falling down them charts. But he is still in the top 100. Vooch is not. Josh Giddey is not. And let's start with that, because as a sidebar to these rankings, there was a whole other article they did alongside it from Kevin Pelton saying which 10 players can crack next year's top 100 list.
Okay.
And I think Bulls fans were very surprised to not only see Josh Giddey's name on that list, but he was one of the players pictured in like the feature image for the article.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people went, wait, Josh Giddey can crack the list next year? He's not on the list this year? What's up with that? So this is what Kevin Pelton had to say about this. He mentioned that he thought NBA rank missed the mark by excluding Giddey in the top 100, saying as high as number 53 when they did this in 2023. Entering his final season with OKC, Giddey dropped off the list after his lackluster 2024 playoffs. It now seems like an overreaction after Giddey averaged 21.2, 10.7, and 9.3 following the 25 All-Star break, noting his 46% shooting from three-point range as well. Giddey's weaknesses make him a challenging fit in a supporting role, but given the keys to the offense, as in Chicago, Giddey can be the engine of a capable attack.
Oh, who said that?
Kevin Pelton said that, among others, perhaps.
Many others.
But instant reaction, is this a like bona fide snub? Is this a hit job on Josh Giddey and the league continuing to disrespect him that he did not crack the top 100?
No. I'm going to say no. I can see him being on the list, and I have no problem with anybody being mad about him not being on the list. You can make the argument, you know what I'm saying, that Josh Giddey belongs on the top 100. But if they're just going off the entire season, I could see it. It makes sense. If we're just taking it from that second half of the year, then yeah, absolutely, he should, no doubt. He's a no-doubter being on that list. I do love the fact that as a guy who missed it, when you're talking about the 10 players, he was like the first one that they mentioned, like, dude, Josh Giddey.
Yeah.
Like, he should be on this list, absolutely. And I'm going to say he absolutely will be on the top 100 list next year, because he's going to have ample amounts of opportunity to get out there and do his thing, because as Kevin said, and as I've been saying, he's the engine of the Chicago Bulls. He's the most important player on their offense. So I expect those numbers to be great or really good from Josh Giddey going into this new season. So, yeah, I expect him to be on the list. I like the fact that he's not on it. I want it to be used as motivation. We've talked about this with how I feel about these things when guys aren't on lists. I like that stuff, because I want guys to be upset about it. I want them to see it and to be like, how dare you do this? What? I'm way better than this. And then getting to go out there and bust their ass and do their thing on the floor to prove to everybody that they belong on these kind of lists. I don't know how Josh Giddey's mental makeup is, but I hope he feels like that. I really do. I hope he's pissed about this. He sees it, and he wants to go out there and prove without a shadow of a doubt that he belongs in the top 100 players in the NBA on anybody's list, whoever's list you're going to put out there.
Interesting. So you're saying you're okay with it. You don't think it's an egregious omission, but you're hoping that
egregious,
Giddey views it that way.
Yes.
And, write some names down.
Yes.
Making a receipt, bulletin board material.
Yep, right there. Look at it every day. You know, when you're putting the style gel in your hair or whatever keeps it, out your eyes. But whatever you're doing, see it and make it, your thing that drives you, or part of the thing that drives you to be better, and get this team to where we want them to be. And that's been actual playoff contention.
Your reaction?
In our rundown here, you've got the blurb from the article that says that ESPN's NBA rank panel is made up of more than 150 reporters, editors, producers, analysts, and they asked to rank players based on their predicted contributions, quality, and quantity for the next season, for 25-26.
Yep.
That's a snub. He's going to be...
Okay, see, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, that's why I want to clarify that.
So that's the criteria.
That's a snub.
Ranking players based on their predicted contributions, both of quality and quantity.
Okay.
The other detail of the criteria that we should point out is that they asked this expert panel to vote on player versus player matchups from more than 20,000 possible pairings and choose based on which player will be better this season.
And if you're talking about that, that's a snub.
Yeah,
absolutely. Go ahead.
To me, that's like even more... That makes it even more of a snub. If it's like... which player is better in a vacuum than another player? I think Giddey is actually probably higher on that list than he is in terms of ranking NBA players because of the quote that Pelton had, which is that he's hard to build around. But if you're just talking about talent in a vacuum, I think Giddey's really talented. I think the same thing happened with Zach LaVine. It was like everybody was really excited about dunk contest, athleticism, $18 million a year. He's breaking out. He's an all-star. And then he signs a max contract, and the pendulum just swings way too far in the other direction. Yeah. And now he's an albatross. He's injury prone. He's not a winning player. All this stuff. We just did this. Can we not do this again with Giddey? He's a good player. It's hard to build around him, but that's way too far to me.
I agree 100% with you. I take back the first part of what I said. Absolutely. Because I was looking at it. I even said it when I was talking. I'm looking at if they're looking at what he did.
That's what made
in
me
that
want
first
to
half and second half. Then okay, and Matt, as he always does, very detailed, put that in the rundown. I just didn't see it. But yeah, that's a snub. Without a doubt, that's a snub. We're talking about him next year and all the opportunities he's going to have to do his thing next year, knowing what you saw him do in that second half of the season, and knowing he's going to have the ball and the offense is built around him like that. Yeah, that's a snub. I agree 100%. That is a snub. That is a snubby snub.
So, if you want to define it as a snub, then you talk about, okay, who did just make the cut over Josh Giddey? So let's take a look at numbers 100 through 91 on this ESPN list that came out earlier this week before we head to our first break. Just going to rattle these off. R.J. Barrett, Stephon Castle, Walker Kessler, Texas Ranger, Dave's guy, Peyton Pritchard, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, P.J. Washington, Devin Vassell, Jakob Poeltl, Mitchell Robinson, Drew Holiday. Those are the last 10 to sneak into the top 100. Obviously, players that play different positions, players that have different sized roles on their respective teams. Sure. But as a sampling of names, does it or does it not make sense to you that all of those players made this list and Josh Giddey did not? Because that's how you define whether a guy is snubbed. It's like, who do you kick out, right?
Mitchell Robinson.
Okay.
I would put Giddey. Again, I'm thinking of next year. That's all I'm thinking of next year. And Mitchell Robinson is not a guy known to be on the floor constantly all the time. What we saw last year was more of an anomaly than it was the actual consistency of what he does. Yeah. He's usually hurt. And shout out to him for being out there. I'm not taking that away. But I would move Mitchell Robinson out of there. Jakob Poeltl even I would look at, and I don't know. I would debate it. I would debate that. But yeah, I would put Giddey over Mitchell Robinson. Yes, absolutely.
So this to me is exactly why Giddey is a tough evaluation. Can you put the list back up, Giddey? Okay. While she hopefully does that, I will slowly get into my point here, which is that like these guys are all like third, fourth, fifth options.
Right.
Giddey is a first option. If you're asking me who do I want driving my offense, who's going to give me the best chance to make the playoffs as the number one option on my team, I'm taking Giddey over all 10 of these guys or however many there are. If you are asking me to put together the best possible 3-and-D wing to guard the best, opposing wing and like make open shots, then yeah, I'm taking all these guys over Giddey. But like that's the part that's hard about him is that he is one of the he's not one of the very most elite at being the lead ball handler. He put up incredible numbers down the stretch last year. We all know the 20-point triple-double stuff. But he's not as good as, like, Luka. He's not as good as, like, a lot of guys in that same ilk. You would rather have, Anthony Edwards or Jason Tatum or all those guys that you would just be able to build around more efficiently because of their strengths and weaknesses. But if you're asking me who is the better player at being able to scale up and down, like, I would probably rather have some of these guys because, like, yeah, you can ask Devin Vassell to, maybe do a little bit more on the ball, but, like, primarily be a 3-and-D guy. Mm-hmm. If you ask Giddey to scale down, he's going to struggle with that. Mm-hmm. But that's, like, where the Bulls are. So to me, like, this is part of the reason why the Bulls get blasted a lot in the national media, and it's part of the reason why Giddey does not get the level of respect that I think he deserves in this situation, is because of the fact that they're kind of a perfect marriage for people to make fun of in the national media, right? It's like a team that, hasn't proven that they're serious about winning at a high level, giving the ball to a guy who is good at what he does, but not good enough to be great. And that's the challenge. So it's not a criticism of Giddey per se, because I think he's underrated. It takes a lot more skill to be able to lead inefficient offense than it does to be a role player. But that's the NBA we live in right now. It's like those role players are more valuable. So, like, it's a hard thing to compare a high level role player to a not low level, but like medium level offensive initiator. But I don't think that makes him a bad player in a vacuum. I think that makes him a challenging fit, but not a bottom, or however, I don't know what you would call it, but like not
outside the top
player.
Outside the top 100.
Yeah.
We'll pause it right there, knock out a couple of ads, come back on the other side, and pick back this conversation about Josh Giddey being snubbed in the ESPN Top 100, plus more, including reacting to where Coby White landed ahead of a couple of his former teammates. It's all still ahead. Hit the like, and here's some ads.
Walker Kessler, Texas Ranger. Love him, Danny.
Today's show is brought to you by Circus Sportsbook. Whatever the sport, the app to bet is Circus Sports Illinois. Circus Sports is sports betting the way it should be. Circus Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service featuring real human beings. I like that when I am someone in need of customer service. I saw an ad on Twitter earlier today. Grok is the best of all of the AIs that exist today. Is it? I don't care. I don't use or like any of them. As a consumer, I would like a human. Circa has them in spades. So if you ever have any issues with your gambling, your account, this or that, Circa can help you out. Bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures, even in-game betting. Circa Sports has it for you. Fun to bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. So what are you waiting for? Download your new bookie today at circusports.com. Must be 21 and older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You know what, Matt? You seemed a little parched.
Yeah, I am a little parched.
I think you need to punch yourself in the goddamn thirst.
Oh, my goodness. It's a good thing I got my RC right here.
Yeah! Punched in the thirst. That's what's happening right now. Pow. Feel the power of being quenched in your thirst.
It's good stuff.
It's RC Cola, y'all. It is not a soft drink. It is just damn good cola. It's the original cola that does not, and I repeat, it does not fold under pressure. There are no trends. There are no gimmicks. There are no woozies.
Wazzy?
And for the love of Will Gottlieb, there are no wazzies at all.
None of them.
It's the same bold, crisp flavor it's always been. It hasn't changed its stripes since 1905. Why? Because it ain't got to. They punch you right in the thirst every single time since 1905. That's a lot of punching, ladies and gents. So do yourself a favor and grab some RC at your local store. Stock up on all your end of summer parties, back to school celebrations, or just watching the game. RC is the move for whatever, and I mean whatever you're doing, because it's RC Cola, y'all. The real taste of Chicago.
Rolling along. CHGO Bulls hanging out on Thursday afternoon. Thanks for being here with us. If you are hanging out on YouTube, in that chat, hit the like button. What are you waiting for? Got some people say, Matty Legend thinks the Giddey should have landed somewhere 75 to 80. Brandon Brooks saying, this list is terrible. I think Giddey's probably late 60s, to be honest. Rob saying, Stephon Castle, rookie, LOL. Kessler's injured a lot. Pritchard only been a top 6 man really so far.
Pritchard might average 29 this year.
Yeah, I mean, with the way that Celtics team is looking. Rest too, like Walker,
light.
Robinson with injuries. Pirtle, what a joke. Dredd saying Nikhil and Walker, Texas Ranger, Kessler shouldn't be on that list ahead of Giddey. Fish saying those guys have played on the national stage more. Giddey getting benched by OKC hurt his rep, but less people see Giddey on the Bulls. That's true. Because, Giddey doesn't just play on the national stage, international stage.
Yeah.
The Giddey committee is very quick to point out what he has done for that Australian national team over the years. And I'm not saying that in a jest kind of way. Like, the basketball universe knows the name Josh Giddey.
Yeah, they do.
But I think, your point earlier that you made about whether or not the league is taking the Bulls seriously can affect some of this stuff and how people view the players on the team.
And that's like the bet that the Bulls are making right now is that Giddey can take another step forward. Because if he can, now he's like a top, 50 for sure kind of player, maybe higher, depending on what kind of additions he makes to his game. So there is sort of a high floor and a low ceiling with Giddey right now. And I think there's like understandable why people would, criticize that. Because that is how you end up in the middle. And that's what I meant by sort of like the perfect marriage thing.
Right.
But at the same point, like, I do think that this undersells what it means to be a talented basketball player. If you're asking, like, who is the best within their role, then, yeah, Giddey's probably a little bit further down the list. But if you're asking, like, who is the more talented basketball player, what has become valuable in terms of talent in the NBA has changed. And I'm not dismissing that. Like, the Bulls really need some 3-and-D wings. I've been very vocal about that. But I think that the idea of having a guy who maybe isn't the elite of the elite, but still can drive offense, I think that type of player has become a little bit underrated.
3-and-D guy that can drive an offense.
Okay. No. A sub-elite guy that can. Like
sub-elite.
Like Giddey, for example. Like, I mean, there's not many teams that, are relying on guys to be their whole offensive focal point that aren't like all-star, all-NBA caliber players. The Bulls are one of those few teams.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I think that's a result of the league moving away from those guys. And as they moved away, I think the pendulum has swung a little bit too far. And as a result, Giddey has been left a little bit underrated. It doesn't mean that I would necessarily want to build my offense around him, all things being equal, but I do think that that's probably
underrated.
both things are true.
Okay. No, you got it.
Well, I was going to say, Dave, the point you were making earlier about, like, you're pretty confident that when we do this a year from now, the NBA ranked 2026 top 100, Giddey's going to be in that top 100.
Yeah.
I believe that too, as somebody who's not keen on the Bulls building around Giddey. Because he's, like, assuming he has a fairly healthy season, plays 60, 65 plus games, he is going to be stuffing the stat sheet.
Yes.
People will recognize that. And if he does something closer to his post-All-Star break numbers than the first 2/3 of the season, absolutely that will put him as a player whose name is included in this top 100 list. To me, it's like, well, how far up this list will he climb? Because he's going to stuff the stat sheet, but in my opinion, he's going to do it on a Bulls team that has somewhere between 35 and 40 wins.
Yeah.
And maybe goes to the play-in and maybe goes to the first round, but no further than that.
Yeah,
So
I hear
that like the players who are in the top 30, top 20 of this list are the players who are on teams that
win.
Like that's the jump. That's the gap. And we can circle back to that thought too when we talk about Coby White a little bit later on in today's show. Because Coby White made this list and comfortably, but still nowhere near the top 30.
Right.
So that's why when you're talking about building a team with Josh Giddey and Coby White as two staple pieces, yeah, they can crack the top 100. Can they crack the top 50?
So if you figure, the top 30 is reserved for the players on the winning teams, right? The players that drive their teams championships to deep playoff runs. Can I challenge you to ask, where do you guys think Giddey ends up on this list, next year?
So I think I was just thinking about that too. I think it's easier to think about it in terms of tiers of players. So the very top tier would be players who are able to be the best player on high level teams.
Sure.
I think the second tier would be players that are able to be the second best player on high level teams.
Okay.
And then I think there's some murkiness there where some people would value guys who could be the third or fourth best player on good teams. Some people would value somebody who can be the first best player on a middle of the pack type of team. And so I do think it comes down to the incentives. And again, that's why I think you're able to both criticize the direction of the Bulls and also feel that Giddey is underappreciated based on what he has provided or what you expect him to provide, because that part is murky. So for me, I don't know, I guess maybe part of this is playing devil's advocate, but part of it is if that's true, then like maybe Giddey is around like the 50, 60, 70 range right now in some people's eyes. And maybe some people just like wouldn't want to be in that business at all, and therefore he's out of the top 100. Like I do think that it's it's like an all or nothing in that way, more so than it would be with a guy like Devin Vassell or than it would be with a guy like, you know, whoever else. But like, would you rather pay, you know, the fourth or fifth best player on your team $27 million a year because he's really good 3-and-D like Devin Vassell, or would you rather play the best guy on your team $25 million a year and see how far that can take you? Like I think it just kind of depends on the way that your team is set up. And like rankings are a hard thing for that reason. Like it's a fun exercise. I think teams do it too because they need to like evaluate those things, and you do need to try to compare them. But I don't think for me it would be so black and white where it's I either want this guy or I don't. But like the whole, you know, 51 to 100 range is like reserved for guys that are good role players as opposed to lower tier lead guys.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying. So having, let's say, two guys in that lower tier, you're kind of telling me where your team, you know, kind of is. So I get that point. I don't disagree with any of it at all. As far as your question, Katie, the challenge, like, yeah, I think like 60 or 70s, I can see Josh Giddey winding up in next season for the Bulls for sure. And again, it's because of the opportunity he's going to have to get out there and do it. He's going to put up numbers, bro. Like, he's going to stuff that stat sheet, as Matt said. It's going to happen. And so just looking at it pure based on that, he's going to end up, and rightfully so, belongs on that list. I understand why Devin Vassell, I disagree with the person who said that. I understand why he's on the list. They look at it, it's easier to look at his because he's a rookie. You can say the upside and the future and all those things.
Right.
Not saying that Giddey is a 13-year vet or anything like that, but they're still like, after 4 years, they're like, oh, we have a kind of an idea about, who we think you are, and now you're on your second team when you're at that age of 22. So they can look at those things, a little bit differently in that sense. But anytime, and I think Goat breaking it down as he did really, drives the point home right there, because he's right. When you're in the back half of a top 100, it's usually guys who are role players on your team. And when you start that with, these are the guys who are leading my team,
Yeah.
that's that. Ooh.
But at a certain point, like, it does become worth it to take a swing on a guy.
Yeah, I'm not saying
like,
it's not.
Yeah,
You know
I'm
what I
just
mean?
building
I'm
off
just
that
pointing
point
out
because
that
it's
point, yeah.
like, if the calculus is like, we either need a top 30 player or we need, role players, at a certain point, like, it does become a value to get the guy that could turn into that. Like Devin Vassell, I know I really like Devin Vassell. He's the example.
Yeah.
I think he's a really solid player. He's 25. Like, Giddey's 22. I think, like, you could argue there's still more upside with Giddey too. So I don't know. I just think, like, at a certain point, it does make sense to have that gamble, that bet on a guy like Josh Giddey. And at $25 million a year, like, I think that's a fine bet to make.
Yeah.
Again, could we have seen them get him at a cheaper deal? For sure, based on the market. If the market dynamics are different, maybe he's making a lot more. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I think, like, the way that you put together a roster is by trying to get upside in different ways, trying to add value to your roster in different ways. And at a certain point, if you're letting all these other teams pass on him, then he does become a value player.
Yeah.
It's just a question of how do you get those other players that are in the top 30, and that's a separate question. But that's a completely different list, right? Like, that's not the same list as who are the top 100 players in the NBA.
Correct. And also, just popped in my head, does that kind of play into AK's 9 to 10 good players? Because let's say Modest ends up on this list, you know what I'm saying, next year.
Yeah.
In my head, I wouldn't think he'd be in the top 30, you know what I mean, or in the top 40. I mean, I would love it, but I don't think that would be the case. But if Modest, Coby, and Giddey all end up in the bottom 50, that's part of the 9 to 10 good players. You know what I'm saying? Model that'll be on your team.
And that philosophy. Well, you know what? Let's put a pin in that and then knock out some ads, because there's a lot to unpack there. Because the two teams left standing in the NBA Finals this past summer had a lot of players who cracked the top 100 all throughout the list.
Yeah.
That's when you're talking about role players and stars.
Correct.
Hit the like button while you listen to these words from our friends and sponsors.
All right.
Today's show brought to you by Eye on the Ball. Hey, listen up, coaches. Are you looking for more athletes to train? Then you got to check out Eye on the Ball. That's where you need to be. It's simple. Just create your profile, upload your background check, and boom, you're in. They're offering a new promo for new coaches signing up right now, getting your first 6 months free. Then just $50 a month after that, or $500 for the whole year. Athletes of all ages and all sports can find you directly. And here's the best part. Eye on the Ball doesn't mess with your schedule, your payments, or your business. You are in full control. They just connect you with the athletes who are already looking for a coach like you. So if you are ready to grow your coaching business and network and reach more athletes, go check it out right now at eyeontheball.net. That's IEYE ontheball.net. Don't wait. The athletes are already out there looking for you.
Yeah. And now you're going to get there. You're going to talk to my man, Ray. Because you got to drive. Ray Chevrolet.
Vroom, vroom.
Where they at? They in Fox Lake. What they doing? They slashing prices on new cars and giving you big savings all month long. Come in today and shop the model year-end sales event and drive home with employee pricing on every new Chevy model. You can get $3,000 to $11,000 off MSRP, or check out their selection of over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. With one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories, you're sure to find the perfect vehicle for yourself. And as one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, they're able to keep their prices competitive, so you know you're going to get a great deal. Plus, that raised price promise, y'all, it lets you shop confidently because the price you see is the price y'all going to pay. You don't miss out on the model year-end sales event going on all month long. For employee pricing on every new Chevrolet model. Shop Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com because they've been serving the community since 19... Together. Let's try.
Vroom.
Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom.
Hey.
All right, rolling along, CHGO Bulls. We're talking about the ESPN NBA Top 100 ranks. Josh Giddey omitted, perhaps snubbed. But talking about the different kinds of players in these rankings and where they are. You know, elite or above average role players who crack this list versus best player or second star on their team, and those players' names being, you know, closer towards the top. So, like, Pacers, for example, and by the way, Tyrese Halliburton and a couple of other stars, Tatum, and people who are going to miss this upcoming season, they omitted from this year's list. So Halliburton's not
that makes
here.
It honestly worse.
Halliburton's not here. If he is, you would assume he would be a top 20 player on this list because his teammate Pascal Siakam, who was his ride or die guy on their way to one win shy of winning the NBA title, Siakam came in at 22. All right. Just going to rattle off a few others. By the way, Jalen Williams for OKC, 11.
Wow.
SGA, 2, behind Joker.
Sure.
All of these players not only cracked the top 100, but came in ahead of Coby White, who we'll get to in a minute, who came in at 71. Nesmith, Pacers, ahead of Coby. Lou Dort, Thunder, ahead of Coby. Let's see who else. Isaiah Hartenstein, ahead of Coby. Miles Turner, who was with those Pacers last year, ahead of Coby. Alex Caruso, Thunder, ahead of Coby. Like, role players and stars ranking higher than the Bulls' best player. That's where we are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the 9 to 10 good. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm not mad at that.
You're not mad at that?
I'm not mad at that because their contribution to their team is bigger than the contribution that, and I don't want to put, make it just Coby specifically, like, because Coby's a great player. But their contribution to their team is bigger than the best player on a non-playoff team, like their contribution to the Bulls.
Okay. I think we got our signals crossed. You're not mad at them being ranked there and ahead of Coby.
Right.
You're not mad at the people who did the rankings.
No.
I'm saying, as a Bulls fan, how can you not be freaking furious about that reality?
You're mad at the team.
I'm mad at the
okay,
team.
all right, we're good.
That is
we're great.
in my, I agree with you.
Wait, Ghost confused too.
Matt's mad at the team?
Got to get into season 4.
Hold on.
Breaking news.
Call the news. Yeah, so Katie, you and I agree. Those are valuable players on teams that win.
Yeah.
Those are the players that get respect in this league.
Yeah. That's how it goes. Like, you win, you get that respect. And you ball out in those winning areas, you get that respect. The Bulls haven't had a chance to get to that level to showcase that kind of thing. And what makes it even more sad is they've had an opportunity to get to that level because the play-in is an opportunity, to kind of get there. They have not beaten the Miami Heat in 3 of those. Where's Bam Adebayo on this list?
I believe he was one behind Pascal, or no, one ahead of Pascal at 21.
So still in the top 30.
Yeah.
What about Tyler Hero?
Tyler Hero also ranked ahead of Kobe. Let me see if I can remember where.
Bam at 23. Okay. He's going to get an opportunity, too. Bam is going to be nice. He's going to do his thing, the opportunity.
But I think it's a similar conversation to the one we just had about Josh, where it's like, how is the league valuing this type of player? As we've talked about with regards to Kobe's contract, the answer is like not the same way that they used to.
Yeah.
We saw Colin Sexton, you have to attach a second-round pick and take back Yusuf Nurkic in order to trade him. You saw Norman Powell go for Kyle Anderson and Kevin Love. Like, CJ McCollum and Jordan Poole trading spaces. Like, these guys are just not valuable in the way that they were 10, 15 years ago. And it's not to say that they're not good players or talented guys. And I think the reason why Kobe's on this list and Josh isn't is because Kobe has the scalability, right, where he can go off the ball, he can play on the ball, he can create some offense, he can space the floor, he can attack closeouts. You can put him in different roles on the offensive end, and he can find ways to be successful regardless. There's value in that. But I think in general, his type of player, you need to be at a certain level. And so that's why I'm curious where Tyler Hero is going to show up or where Desmond Bane is going to show up, because I think those guys are a level ahead of Kobe right now. If Kobe was the one that was leading the Bulls to 38 points in the play-in and a first-round series, I think he'd probably be a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Tyler Hero is at 68, 3 spots ahead of Kobe, who is at 71.
So that's surprising. I would have expected him to be a little bit higher. I mean, he was an all-star last year.
Yeah.
But I think the point remains, which is that even guys like Tyler Hero, who were an all-star, who did lead their team to 2 play-in wins and the playoffs, those guys are still not valued as highly as they were 15 years ago. And that's just today's NBA. Right. And so we are placing more value on the role player types who can defend, who have versatility, who can play with the ball in their hands and also don't need to. That is what is valuable in today's NBA. And so that is what's reflected in these rankings. Does that mean that these guys aren't as good of players? No, it just means that they're not valued as much, and that's why their spot in the rankings is probably not as high as you might guess.
So our pal Dreads in the chat just asked, where is Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan? That was something else that we wanted to touch on because sort of comparatively with Coby White, are they still ranked ahead of him? Have they fallen? Zach came in 72, 1 spot behind Coby White. And right around where Zach LaVine was in these rankings a year ago, fell just 2 spots from 74. DeMar fell hard. He came into last year's rankings number 45.
Nice.
That was coming on the heels of his final season with the Bulls before his first season in Sacramento. This year, he's 80.
This list is ageist.
I mean, truly.
Really is.
They had a signature staff for each player with these rankings. DeMar's last season, DeMar made 293 mid-range shots, 119 more than any other player. He's led the NBA in mid-range field goals in 3 of the past 4 seasons.
Oh my gosh! But yeah, let's drop it.
That could partly be because SGA spent more time at the free throw line than shooting his middies this past season. Sure. The MVP, but DeMar still put up elite numbers last year. Yeah. So did Zach LaVine. Zach's signature stat, one of 4 players to average at least 20 points, shooting 50 from the field and 40 on threes. You know who the other 3 were?
Tell me.
Cat, KD, and Joker.
I'm just going to guess they're all in the top 30. Just a guess. A little guess.
Kobe's signature stat, last season he had a career-high 20.4 points per game and made 216 threes, the most in a single season in Bulls franchise history. Yeah. That's a cool stat. It's impressive.
It is.
Way to go, Kobe. But it's like...
Player of the month also.
Also the Eastern Conference Player of the Month. March, right?
Yes.
But again, just to kind of is Kobe a better player than both Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan now?
I think there's more room for growth. I think if you're projecting it out
for next season,
is it more likely that 35-year-old DeMar DeRozan takes a slight step back, or that 25-year-old Coby White takes a slight step forward? I think the answer is probably pretty clear. Zach, I think, is a little bit more of a gray area because he's still not even 30, if I recall correctly. If he is,
I think he
not
is,
just
but
hitting it.
recently.
Yeah.
maybe he's 30 or 31 or something. But obviously still
Yeah,
well
he
within
is
his
30.
prime. But like Zach had one of the best shooting years of his career last year.
Yeah, bro.
and I think it's like, are contracts involved in this at all? Like I can't really tell.
It was not mentioned in the criteria. They did not take contracts into account.
Okay.
Because like on talent alone, I think Coby made a real stride last year that showed that he's at least on that same level. I don't know if I would if I needed to pick one, contract, independent of contract, to put on my team trying to play in a playoff game tomorrow. I don't really know where I would go with that, but like in terms of progress and where you can project these guys out, you probably feel better about Coby taking steps forward than you do about the guys towards the latter parts of their career.
The only issue I have with that logic, and I don't think it's wrong, but the only flaw for me in that is what Coby was ranked at last year.
Right.
And Coby was ranked 58 last year.
Coby fell
Yeah.
13 spots
Like-
compared to his ranking a year ago.
Like having a better year than you had the previous season and your team basically having the same amount of wins and you fall 13 spots. I don't understand that part of the logic. I don't get. And looking at Zach LaVine, who, as you just said, had the best season of his career, kind of just stayed right there. Didn't really drop too hard or drop too much, just kind of stayed right there, which is fair. If you
Right.
have him there like that, and yeah, let's move him up a tick because he played better. If you play better, then I'm like, should you drop so much further down, especially if you're still at that young kind of age where you haven't even reached your prime yet? Even the DeMar part I get, because you're like, he's 35 years old, he's older and all that kind of stuff. I get that. That makes sense. But talking about, like you said, more room to grow and having room to grow, that's at the age, Coby is definitely at that age where he had plenty of room to grow, and he grew. And still having him drop, I'm a little surprised.
I think that goes back to the point Goat made earlier about pendulum swings of how players are viewed in the league by media and fans and all of that. Because, did Coby get better from 2 years ago to this past season? Statistically speaking, yeah, in a lot of categories. He had his first season averaging 20 points per game. The season prior, when it was 19.4, he finished second. A close second in the most improved player award category.
Sure did.
That gets you attention. That gets you ranked 58th in ESPN's top 100 coming into the next season. Because Coby finished that season 2 years ago on an absolute heater.
Yes, he did.
And was nipping at Tyrese Maxey's heels for that prestigious award.
Yeah.
That gets you ranked like that. Was his growth from that to what we saw from him this year as noticeable from a league-wide national vantage point? I would say no, because I rattled off some of these names earlier because they were either Thunder or Pacers players who were in the finals. All of those players I mentioned earlier who were Pacers or Thunder jumped Coby from last year's rankings. In addition, Michael Porter Jr., Josh Hart, Tyler Hero, Cam Johnson, Denny Avdia, Christian Brown, Austin Reeves, Jalen Suggs, Trey Murphy, Dyson Daniels, Cooper Flagg, Draymond Green, all players who were either ranked in the top 100 behind Coby or not ranked at all, who are now ranked ahead of him this year.
That's interesting with the Michael Porter Jr.
So is that saying that those players made bigger jumps in their game than Coby did? They're trending more aggressively upwards than Coby is? In some capacity, that's what these numbers say.
But I think it's also back to what I said about what is valued around the league. And these guys are proving that they are not only, good role players, but role players that can play a huge role on a team that goes to Game 7 of the NBA Finals. At a certain point, that is more valuable than a guy who can be the best player on a 39-win team every year. They just are. And so it's a matter of at what point do you decide that that's not worth it anymore. So you're probably getting a bump from that. You're probably getting a bump from them having to take on more responsibility, put up more stats without Halliburton, without Turner. So I think there's that factor too. But it's more just, to me, a signal of how much are these guys contributing to winning within the context of their role, and what kind of winning is that? Is that low-level winning? Is it mid-level winning? Or is it high-level winning? And I think it's just hard to weigh all those things against each other when you're not only talking about weighing it against your role, but against different kinds of roles. That's just a hard thing to do.
It is a little difficult, man.
It's it is interesting. And The other piece that we wanted to get to, we can move to that now, kind of coincides with this, also came from ESPN, their off-season survey, of which they did a handful, and the one most recently, there was a bunch of stuff in there of like which team will LeBron be playing on next season? Who the hell cares? Who the hell cares?
Bulls.
There was one category in which the Bulls made an appearance. We don't need to dwell on it, but they got one vote for which team had the worst offseason. But Pelicans won that category in a landslide with 9 votes. The Suns had 4 votes, the Kings 2. The Bulls were one of 5 teams receiving 1 vote.
Again, in that category with the Suns.
Here we all are.
Still there.
But the question that I think was the most interesting that goes along with this conversation of like players who excel as role players on good teams, AK's whole philosophy of 9 to 10 good players, depth players, young players with experience, and the league might be trending that way. What was the biggest trend of the offseason was the last question of this ESPN survey. Teams trying to avoid the aprons and gain financial flexibility got the most votes with 7. But right there behind it was teams prioritizing youth, which got 6 votes, and teams prioritizing size got 6 votes. Teams prioritizing youth and depth got 4. One anonymous Eastern Conference scout said, size matters now, while also echoing the idea several others pointed to about offensive rebounding mattering more than it has in a long time, and after seeing the Thunder and Pacers reach the NBA Finals on the backs of youth and depth, AK, are you listening? Several people across the league pointed to teams eschewing veterans for youth and depth as a key takeaway from this summer.
The Utes.
Because you want to be able to play hard. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, but like the effort and intensity in that finals was like unbelievable. It was some of the best we've seen in a really long time. So I think teams want to try to emulate what works. It's a copycat league, and it always will be. When teams get ahead or find an edge some way, the rest of the league comes back to that. And that's why I think like size is a good call out here, because it's like everybody's shooting more threes. Everybody's playing faster. Everybody's playing harder. You can't get an edge there anymore. So now it's going to revert back to who's the biggest with the most talent. Can you get offensive rebounds and generate extra possessions? Like the possession battle, I think, is going to come back in a big way.
Yeah, agreed.
And I wonder how the Bulls fit into that with a team that's, got a lot of decent young front court guys that could potentially grow into something, and Noah, Mattis, and you could throw like Patrick and some of the other guys in there. But like at a certain point, I mean, you're looking at the Rockets playing with Alperen Şengün and Steven Adams together out there. Like they can't compete with that. So is the pendulum going to swing back that way, or is it going to eventually go to the like 7-foot guys who play small ball, like Noah and like Mattis? And I wonder if the Bulls will be ahead of that curve or behind it.
Yeah, the 7-foot guys thing I can see. I mean, the first person I think of is Wembanyama when that crosses my mind. And if you're looking at him as the future of the league, then the pendulum he'll definitely have some time being, that guy that everybody's trying to emulate as far as who they can have on their team.
Some guys like that are just like, there's nothing you can do.
But you're going to try.
You're going to try.
It's like when Jordan was around, they stayed with, my God, they tried to emulate Michael Jordan all the time.
But they all came up short, right?
Yes,
that's
correct.
The thing, except for maybe you could argue Kobe. But like my thing is, when you look at the small ball era of basketball and teams emulating that, it was like, can we get 5, 6, 6, 6, 7 guys on the court, switch everything, shoot threes, play fast? I think now it's going to be, can you get 5, 6'10", 6'11", 7-foot tall guys, switch everything, play fast? And that might be the counter to the 2 bigs. If you can do that and be versatile, and maybe the Bulls are positioned to do that. I don't know if that will actually work out, because Steven Adams is a tough dude to box out.
Tough.
And when you've got Şengün running pick and roll, like you got to have somebody there to. So like there's complications with it, to be sure, but it'll just be interesting to see how the Bulls are able to build this roster with those 2 in mind. And like you've got Giddey, who's 6'8", and those 2 guys who are 6'10", 6'11", and you get some more shooting and defense around them. Like you could be playing an interesting style that, who knows, maybe you're the one setting the agenda.
And that's the thing that I found absolutely fascinating about this survey and that specific question about off-season trends. Because if you just look at this face value, the things that were the 3 biggest trends, according to anonymous league executives: avoiding the apron / financial flexibility. AK, check. What's an apron? we've got plenty of flexibility. I don't even know what a tax apron is because we're never even near it. We're not sniffing it. We're not seeing it. It's a dot way off in the horizon. Check. Teams prioritizing size, as Goat just mentioned a couple of. Yeah, you drafted Modest, size. You draft Noah Asenge, size. Your guards, Coby, Ayo, Giddey in particular, size. Even your toolsy wings, Julian, Dalen, more size.
Yeah.
Prioritizing youth and depth. That is like the AK motto right now.
That is a fact.
So check. AK is checking all of the boxes of the biggest offseason trends according to other executives around the league.
Yeah.
But it's like a kid who got the answers to the Scantron test and just, goes A, C, D, B, A. Like, technically, I'm getting all these right. I learned nothing in this class, and our best player came in ranked 71 in the league's top 100. So I was like, yeah, technically, he's crushing it with these trends in the league. He's ahead of the curve. Your team's still going nowhere, but congrats on passing this test.
Yeah, I mean, like, trends in the league that's like not tangential, but it's like it's styles of building your roster. It's not related to like putting together winning basketball. Like, at a certain point, you still need the talent. That's what we've been saying. That part's still true.
It's very necessary.
So, like, on the fringes, yes, they're doing some of the right things, and I've been saying that. Like, I think they were ahead of the curve with playing fast.
Yeah,
we talked about that. I think the adjustment to having more flexibility, being a little bit more nimble on your cap sheet, like, all that stuff is true. At a certain point, though, you have to commit to guys, unless you just continue to sign one-year contracts and are willing to let guys walk because you're not willing to give them guaranteed long-term deals, which obviously isn't the case because they just gave Giddey $100 million. But I think it'll just be interesting to see if they try to maintain this flexibility beyond this summer, or if they try to lock into a team that they feel like they can make a little run with for the next 3 or 4 years. Because, as I've been saying, like, flexibility is a great thing to have, but at a certain point, you got to commit to guys and you got to sign contracts because you need a roster. So I think, like, yes, it's good to be in touch with what's happening around the league, how teams are building. But at the end of the day, like, those are characteristics of teams, not the foundational piece of it. That's not the essence of what makes a good team. The essence is the talent.
I think that's a very important distinction to make.
Let me simplify it even more than that. Like, because while you were saying that, even before, you just said what you said, which I was like, yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. AK, I have heard said all these things. Like, I've heard him say all these things: prioritizing size, financial flexibility, prioritizing youth and depth. All that is great. It doesn't matter how far out you see the hurricane if you're not prepared for it when it gets here. So you can be ahead of the curve all you want. You can be cool all you want. If you don't have the equipment and you don't have the things necessary to combat it, you're still going down. So being ahead of the curve is cool. Seeing the trends, all that, how the market is happening, that's great. But what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Knowing with this knowledge, what are you doing with that knowledge? Knowing this is the trend of the NBA, knowing it's going that way. Yeah, like you said, you're getting the answers on a test, but are you studying for that test? What did you learn? Like, I've done that, what Matt said, like in high school. I remember when I was in algebra class and I got the answers to it, and the teacher knew I cheated, and he's like, hey, man, show me your work.
Show your work.
And I was like, oh, well, about to fail this. You know what I mean? Like, because I had the answer right, but it didn't matter if I couldn't show the actual work. So it didn't matter the trend or what you have if you're not prepared for it. And sometimes it feels like they're not prepared for it or have the necessary tools to be prepared for it. Yes, you want to play like the Pacers. Yes, you want to be like the team that won the NBA Finals. But, man, that's a big difference between the Transformers and the GoBots.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, you can be both. You know what I mean? Like, you can be both of those things, but there's a big difference between them. You know what I mean?
In certain ways, these are the same thing.
Yeah,
but in
certain
very important ways, these
I
are not remotely close to the same thing.
It's like when we were young, like, you wanted Air Jordans and you couldn't afford them, you got Pro Wings. Some of them look like Mike's.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you get away with it sometimes, but those weren't Mike's.
Or like
and it
that,
wasn't going to
what's
happen.
the name of that action figure knockoff? NyQuil Jordan or whatever?
Exactly.
Like,
exactly, man.
There you go.
Yeah, and again, I do think this Bulls team has some really awesome pieces on it. I do still believe, and like I said, I'm gonna be a super fan this year. I'm really gonna enjoy this season because I like the youth that they have. But some of these things like that you're pointing at in the directions of that this team is kind of going with that. It's why you're at the bottom 50 when it comes to those players, in the top 100, because some of them just still aren't able to measure up yet, to get you over that hump, to have those top 30 players where you're like, okay, we ready to go ahead and make this move. So you're seeing the trends, you see where it's coming, you're seeing what you got, but sometimes it feels you're still not prepared for it, man.
Because in a couple of years, some handful of these young Bulls players, first generation young and second generation young, Coby if he's still here, Giddey, Modest, we could start seeing some of these players, multiple Bulls, at the back end of this top 100 list in a few years, which is great.
I expect it.
But honestly, so do I. Mm-hmm. The question is, of that group, are any of them your Jalen Brunson, who came in at 10? Mm-hmm. Are any of them your Kevin Durant, 9? Are any of them your LeBron, 8? Are any of them Steph Curry, 7? Anthony Edwards, 6? Wemby, 5? Giannis, 4? Luka, 3? SGA, 2? Joker, 1?
Right.
Which player do the Bulls have right now who you can see being in that part of the list sometime down the line?
Your hope, your hope is Modest. That's the hope.
Because are you winning a championship without one?
You are not. You got to have them, dog.
I mean,
you got to have them.
I think it's got to be Giddey. Like, how many teams do you know who have a player with 25, 30% usage who isn't the best player on their team?
Not a lot.
Like, probably none. Like, if you're going to have the ball that much, you got to be an all-star. You got to be like a fringe all-NBA guy.
Yeah.
Like, he just has to take steps forward. I think that's like, and like, I know they're not paying him like that, but like, if they're going to give him the ball like that, then he needs to produce like that. So to me,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, like you got to either find really creative ways to build around him in a world where, like, yes, the main guy has the ball and he's the best player, and your main guy who has the ball isn't your best player. Mm-hmm. Like, you got to find some real creative ways to do that. Or he's got to become the best player. I think those are kind of the two options.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, the whole time I'm thinking of, like, Jordan Poole. You know what I mean? Like, all that usage he had, having the ball and scoring all the points he had. I'm thinking of Bradley Beal. It's funny, I'm thinking of Wizards. But I'm thinking of those guys. Bradley Beal led the league in scoring. You know what I mean? Right. And became an all-star, stuff like that. But those were your best players. You know what I mean?
And
like,
so
they had that.
That's one question. And then how many times have you seen that where the team is winning?
Correct.
Is a much smaller answer.
Correct, sir. Absolutely. Uncle Rectamundo.
Raquel Caden, sorry if I mispronounced that in the chat, saying, to be fair, nobody thought half of those guys were going to be that before they were, referencing the top 10 that I just rattled off. And that's, I mean, in some cases, that's a fair point. Like, did the Clippers think SGA was going to be SGA
clearly
when they traded him?
They didn't think that at all.
Shout out Emma. Sorry for bringing it up. But, like, Jokic, second-round pick.
Yeah, they didn't think that at all.
Giannis was kind of a big swing.
Yeah.
When the Bucks made that pick, people were like, yeah, this kid is crazy lanky. And like, does he have any basketball skill?
Yeah.
We're going to find out. So, yes, there are some of those shots like nobody knew this kid could turn into this star.
Jalen
Brunson, sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's also, from my vantage point, not super likely to happen with anybody who's about to throw on a Bulls jersey at Media Day on Monday. Would love it if it were. Come on, Modest.
I'm here for it.
Go. I think you're right. Like, and that was the thing that Pelton was the most recent of many to point out. When it comes to building with Giddey, if you make him your focal point, you can build something that could work. It presents challenges, but he needs to excel and become a level of himself that is
exactly
absolute peak of what his skill set is to make the team around him a real competitive team.
Exactly. I mean, think about the Knicks. Obviously, like, Brunson, when he signed the contract that he's on right now, he had already broken out, but he took a big pay cut, right? I think he's making like $32 million or something like that.
Oh,
Ballmer got him.
Poor guy. Yeah. But that allowed them to give OG Anunoby a max contract. It allowed them to trade for Mikal Bridges and it allowed them to trade for a Karl Anthony Towns. And now all of a sudden you've got guys that fit around him that are either appropriately or overpaid, and it all works because you've got the main guy on a good contract. And so if Giddey can take a step forward, then you're able to make some big decisions. Maybe you're able to get Coby to come back on a team-friendly or fair market value deal, and that allows you to have two guys that you feel are outplaying their contracts. And now you can take a big swing, and you can go out and get a guy that can come in, and maybe it's like a Karl Anthony Towns type of player who's a center who can space the floor, who's overpaid as a result. Nobody wants to pay Karl Anthony Towns $60 million in a couple of years, but like the Knicks are happy to because of what Brunson's doing. So I think that's going to have to be part of the formula for the Bulls as well.
Whew. It's a fascinating conversation.
It is.
And again, like Dave said, I agree. Like I expect to see more Bulls named on this list when we do this a year from now.
I expect to see Modest on here. I really do. I expect to see Modest's name
that's a great
on this list.
That would have been a great prove it for when we did Modest.
Oh,
Prove it.
yeah, it would. Yeah. Give him another challenge.
Crack that top 100 in the league, baby.
For real, man.
I mean, first things first, let's get Giddey there. Let's get Giddey there.
Step
And look,
one.
dude, even as somebody who's, as you know, if you listen to this show, not a huge Giddey fan, I was surprised that he did not make this list.
Yeah. Once you tell me the criteria, I'm like, oh, yeah, that is a snub.
Yeah.
With Powell.
We'll pause it for there today. We will be back tomorrow with our final episode of the week, our final episode of the offseason.
Ooh.
Before Media Day on
Look
Monday.
at that.
Wow.
Woo.
We're so close.
Look how focused Goat got. we
Read
have.
Goat Stuff, allchgo.com. Become a diehard so you can read it. Follow Will _Gottlieb. Big Dave, BAM. BAWL Sports. I'm Bulls _Peck. We are CHGO _Bulls. The queen of the controls is our one and only Katie Duffy. Hit the like on your way out if you haven't done it yet. Do it for Katie. She means it. She needs it.
She'll get you.
Have a great night. Get your bets in for Thursday Night Football on that Circus Sportsbook app. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. See you, Be good.
CHGO Wrestling out now.
Wrestling. Big Dave.
Big Dave.
We all silly like the mayor.